Let's maul in the Central Committee. Let's cringe in the Central Committee. Let's bog in the Central Committee right now.
Why don't the Democrats call the Republicans autocratic or fascist as a counter? The Republicans constantly calling the Democrats socialists or communists because they're weak and they're bought out and they're frauds. The Democratic Party is not interested in actually governing the country for a leftist orientation. Democratic Party is a catchment for all the resistance forces to the various exploitations happening in our society. There's a lot of good people within the Democratic Party who are working to win it over and transform it into a party that really helps the people. But guess what? The vast majority of the Democratic leaders are worthless scum. And they'd rather spend most of their time attacking their own activists. This is what we're talking about.
Congressman, thanks so much for coming back on the show tonight. It's been 6 months since the insurrection on Capitol Hill. You tried to impeach and convict Donald Trump. You tried to get a bipartisan commission with the people who wouldn't impeach him or convict him. Now your party has this select committee that's not yet results from that committee.
This is what I
See some
wanted to do.
investigating done.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think it's all going to depend upon the minority leader. He's now saying that he is going to appoint 5 members to serve. And when they get together, I'm assuming the 13 will sit down and develop some timetables. I don't think they ought to rush into this. This is something that we need to take our time. It's already occurred. As we said, we know exactly when it happened. We know a whole lot about where it happened. We just don't know why and who made it happen. They should take their time to find that out.
It's a fair point. I guess the counter-argument would be 6 months is a long time from an insurrection to have done no investigating, especially when the Republicans are trying to rewrite history, as you know, and they're still pushing this big lie about the election. It's been 2 weeks, in fact, since Senate Republicans used their filibuster to block Democrats from passing S1, the For the People Act, which has already passed in the House. I want to play you something the Vice President said today. Have a listen.
These laws make it harder for you to vote because they don't want you to vote. Don't let anybody ever take your power from you. Don't let anybody take your power from you.
Does anybody buy this? Does anyone buy this hokey shit? Don't let anybody take your vote from you. Does anyone fucking buy that crap? It's so patronizing. It's so gross.
Especially the power of your voice. We will not let anyone take away our power. And that's why we are all here together today. We're not going to let that happen.
I mean, people say that people buy it, but then I look at this. Kamala Harris is crashing. The vice president's approval ratings are slumping. She is now underwater in the Real Clear Politics on average of polls. This is gross.
When the vice president says we're not going to let that happen, the problem is it's already happened. The filibuster was already deployed. I know you, Congressman, support getting rid of the filibuster in this context, and I'm glad you do. But Senate Democrats haven't gotten rid of it. And until today, the White House hadn't said or done much on S1. Is there a plan B to save our democracy? I mean, either there's dealing with right now or there isn't. Am I wrong?
Well, remember on 2 things. First of all, I know it's been 6 months since January 6th, but it was almost 18 months before the Congress.
I don't know if you remember, but on Reddit, right after Kamala was announced as VP, there was a concerted effort to say she was incredibly progressive and linked websites showing her as more progressive than Bernie Sanders. She had a 2-year voting record at that time. So when you are mostly voting in opposition to the existing party, it's easy to rack up a progressive voting record because guess who's bringing all the floor votes? Mitch McConnell. You're not actually going to be challenged to vote for progressive things that go against the corporate interest. You just have to vote with your party. That means absolutely fucking nothing. A 2-year voting record is a joke. Anybody who bought that was, again, dumb as fuck.
Congress responded legislatively to 9/11. So I don't think that we need to worry about 6 months thing. Let's make sure we get it done so it won't happen again. Now, as for voting, I do feel very strongly that we have got to have a legislative response, and it needs to be done by the middle or the end of September. And I think it can be done. We know that we're not going to have...
This is how you know Clyburn is a right-wing psychopath. He's got a Truman book behind him. Truman? Truman was one of the biggest loser Democratic politicians in American history. Truly a cuck. Horrific foreign policy. Just a hugely failed foreign policy. Domestically, he sat there as Taft-Hartley anti-union legislation was passed. Totally useless, ineffectual. He's famous because everyone thought he was going to lose and he surprise won.
Can be done. We know that we're not going to have congressional elections until next year. We know that the new numbers will come out from the Census Bureau in September. And I think we ought to have in place a bill coming out of the Senate that will do two things. Number one, incorporate that which is found in H.R. 1, at least those things that they can agree upon, and what is in H.R. 4, the pre-clearance part of H.R. 4. They ought to just combine those two bills, take them to the floor in the Senate, pass it, and then let's do what is necessary to have fair and unfettered elections. And I think you can do that in two ways. Yes.
No, please tell us your two ways, and then I'll come back in.
The two ways you can do that by carving out a workaround of the filibuster as you've done for the budget. We can do the civil rights and constitutional rights questions. They should not be subjected to a filibuster, just like we don't do for the budget. We don't let any one person jeopardize the full faith and credit of the United States of America, and we ought not let anyone hold anybody's constitutional right in their hand. And the second way you can do that, quite frankly, is that making it a reconciliation issue, just like you've done for the budget, and just say, if you're going to get 10 people, let's put it on the floor.
But, Congressman, isn't the problem that what you're saying I 100% agree with? There are workarounds, but the president hasn't come out and said this. Chuck Schumer hasn't come out and said this. Joe Manchin hasn't said he's on board with this. So the problem is we're still stuck with the status quo.
Well, you know, I never feel that just because I have not been a party to the discussions, that the discussions didn't take place. You know, I believe in being transparent, but I also believe that we ought to make headway before we make headlines. And the problem we get so often is the headlines get out in front of the issue, and it jeopardizes the ability to make headway. So I am convinced that there are people talking. I have not advertised the 1-hour discussion I had with Joe Manchin. Voter ID laws we've always had. I keep in my pocket a voter registration card. I present that card every time I go vote. That's IDing myself. What I'm talking about there is photo ID that says a hunting license photo is good and a student activity card photo is not good. And that's the problem with tweeting. You know, you use these shortcuts and people cut off what you're talking about.
Fair enough. And you think that you and Joe Manchin both agree that photo ID isn't necessary?
It's not necessary. He even talked about someone bringing their utility bill as an ID. That's the kind of innovation that we need.
Yes. Well said. Late last month, Congressman, you made headlines for getting involved in a special House election in Ohio that will fill the vacancy left by Health and Human Services Secretary Marsha Fudge. In that race, the frontrunner is Nina Turner, a progressive ally of Bernie Sanders. She was endorsed by the local paper there, the Plain Dealer. Yet you surprised many by endorsing her Democratic primary opponent, Shontel Brown, who's the local Democratic Party chair. Some might look at that and say, this is the Democratic Party establishment trying to prevent the progressive squad from growing. What would you say to them?
I would say simply that I know Shontel Brown. I have been working with her.
No, he doesn't. That's a point blank lie. She's a nobody. She's a loser. She's a county party chair, which is the most nothing position you could, I bet you if you're watching me right now, you could go and become the chair of your Democratic Party within a couple years of minimal effort. That is a fucking joke. Now, that minimal effort will involve you kissing the asses of the existing politicians and being a total machine corrupt tool. But the idea that he knows her is a joke.
For several years, she is chair of the party out there, the first African-American woman to do so. I worked with her on behalf of Marsha Fudge at fundraisers. I know her. She asked me would I support her, and I said I would. Now, I always decide what level of support I will make. And until I heard that I was being accused publicly of endorsing Joe Biden and not getting anything for it, I don't know why the accused decided to bring me into it. I mean,
that's not even true. Clyburn was angry because Joe Biden hadn't hired his daughter into his super PAC. Oh, whoops. Oh, you thought I forgot. Clyburn. Oh, no. Biden's campaign selection of preferred super PAC stoked strife in Democratic Party. Oh, among top Democrats pushing the campaign to accept help from a broader constellation of groups is Rep. James Clyburn, an influential figure whose endorsement was pivotal to Biden's momentum toward the nomination. Clyburn is a prominent advocate of Unite the Country, and his daughter is on the group's board. What? What do you mean? He didn't. Oh, whoops. Jim Messina, campaign manager from Obama's 2012 re-election run and an advisor to a different super PAC, America Bridge 21st Century, said the party's donors need to invest in many independent groups to beat Trump. At stake are hundreds of millions of dollars in independent spending for Biden by super PACs and politically active nonprofits that can raise and spend unlimited sums to try to influence elections. By the way, chat, Jim Messina, Obama's campaign manager. What did Jim Messina do after he what did he do after he won for Barack Obama? Do you guys recall what Jim Messina did? Conservatives hired Jim Messina for UK general election. Data expert ran Obama's 2012 presidential campaign. Well, that's odd. You know, people often say the Democrats would be conservatives in European countries, and you'll often hear libs, like, for example, a couple of libs that are ignorant dipshits say, "You're so wrong. You don't know anything. American Democrats would be on the..." No, because Barack Obama's campaign manager went and worked for the conservatives directly after electing Obama. What a surprise. So, anyway, that's who runs the Democratic Party, chat. Let's keep going.
Not in it, so they brought me in it. So when they brought me in it, I decided to participate.
I mean, I guess the context is you have been quite critical of the left of your party. The Democrats lost a net dozen House seats last November. Despite winning the White House, you've been very critical of the party's progressive wing for, quote, sloganeering, you say, with movements like Medicare for All and defund the police. In May, though, Congressman, a focus group study from the polling firm Lake Research Partners found that swing voters paid only a little attention to Republican attacks on socialism or defunding the police, which they viewed as divisive fear-mongering, and that the bigger problem was that many voters didn't have a clear grasp of what the Democratic Party stood for. So,
oh my god! Because chat, libs, if you're in here hate watching libs, this is your time. This is your time to shine. What does the Democratic Party stand for? Not being Republicans. Wacky matter. That's about as close as it is. That's exactly it. Corporate Dems use identity politics to make up for the fact that their economic policy is right-wing. That's it. Here's the thing. Republicans can play identity politics, too. They can find there are people of color that are conservatives. That game, you won't win that game. You won't. And in fact, it'll be Uno reversed on your ass because the Republicans will go, they'll find some person of color and run them and go, oh, you're not supporting that person of color, that woman, that etc. You must be a bigot.
Is the whole attention on defund the police really a deflection by the party leadership from your own failures? That's what your critics on the left would say.
That is absolutely poppycock. I know what I'm talking about. I'm out here with the voters every day. I did a town hall meeting last night in Jasper County, South Carolina. I can tell you, defund the police.
Dude, he's in a gerrymandered district. Clyburn is in a packed district. Remember when we talked about gerrymandering the other day? We talked about stacking, cracking, and packing. Jim Clyburn is in a packed Democratic district so that the rest of South Carolina could be gerrymandered so the Republicans win. He is the beneficiary of gerrymandering. Because some individual Democratic politicians win when their state gets gerrymandered. They get a seat they can never lose in a general election. Do you know how nice that is? To be unbeatable ever, never having to really campaign, sitting on your ass. You raise money to increase your own personal power in D.C. so you get your daughter hired at a super PAC and enrich your family. That's Jim Clyburn's legacy in politics right now. Enriching his family while he holds as high of a position he can in Democratic leadership and punching left from a D plus 50 seat. That is what he's actually there to do. He doesn't want gerrymandering reform. God knows that might put him in a fucking competitive race at some point. Oh, shit. I don't want that.
Is a non-starter, even with black people. And if you don't think that's true, then look at the results of what just happened in New York City's election. So the proof is in the pudding. I know what I'm talking about. I talk to people every day. And defund the police is a chokehold around the Democratic Party. And let me remind you, if you're going to count...
That is disgusting. Holy shit. Police are literally killing people with chokeholds, including George Floyd, and he says the defund the police is putting a chokehold around the Democratic Party when it's not true. We just had the facts put in front of our faces. A poll said the swing voters ignore the socialism shit. I'm pulling up a study that I'm looking at, chat. Sorry for the 30 seconds of dead air. I was just thinking about how I was going to talk about this. But basically, when people like Jim Clyburn say, oh, black people don't want you to defund the police, what they really are talking about is black people, when surveyed, want to see more support for their communities in general. They want to see infrastructure, education, healthcare, welfare. General attitudes towards state support for community seem to do a better job of predicting support for law enforcement spending among black respondents, specifically support for infrastructure, education, healthcare spending seem to do a much better job than crime victimization at explaining support for law enforcement spending. all of which suggest that support for law enforcement spending seems to be tied to broader desires for state support more generally. In one conversation between two black men in Baltimore and Los Angeles, the Porter's team found that members of highly policed communities think of police as just one component of a racist criminal justice system. Big industry. That's a big industry. That's what I think when they say criminal justice. I look at it from the police all the way up to the state penal institutions. I think they are all homeboys and friends. That's what I'm thinking. And the only role that you and I play in that whole circle is the victim, really. We really are, man. Yes, we are. Yes. We are the ones they depend on, you know. They're going to try and put you and I in one of them holes. I asked an officer when I was arrested, I had tears in my eyes. I said, man, why would you want to plant this and lie on me? You are really going to you're ruining my life, man. You're affecting the lives of many. Ain't that something? What did he say? It was funny to him. I was in a cell over at the precinct one time in a gang, a group of officers, about 5, 6 of them, all black, all white, one black, right? They were laughing at an officer sharing his story about how he tased somebody. Oh, I hit him with a taser. Oh, it was funny. When you got to ask yourself in the trainings of criminal justice, I thought it was the color of law. I thought the mandate of law was the voice. I was always under the impression that a person could not act outside the badge. But here in Los Angeles, well, damn, this is totally, the whole system is debauched, right? I would think. Not only did the researchers find the system viewed the entire system as being debauched, but they also noted that these individuals consistently revealed themselves to be incredibly sophisticated in their breadth of knowledge of local political figures. For instance, the name of district attorneys, as well as their frequent connections of historical events, such as Rodney King's beating by police in 1992 and the murder of Trayvon Martin in 2012. Historically, survey researchers have tended to lament low levels of political knowledge in the American public, but the conversations captured by the Portals team challenge such conceptions, which rely on survey researchers asking about forms of political knowledge or sophistication that do not map onto the lived experiences of highly policed communities. In another study, the Portals team documents show how black citizens experience an unequal responsiveness by police that erodes their basic trust in the institution. I really don't like the police. Like, they don't respond fast enough when you really need them. They rude as ever. They stop you for no apparent reason at all. Like, I feel like they do too much. Your mission is to serve and protect, but we see you as threats now. Me and my son, we're scared to walk down the street. We go home, we shut all the doors, we let all the blinds down, we go to bed. And you want to see what the actual survey said about police? According to data from Nationscape, which has over 19,000 black respondents, shows that 44% of black respondents have a favorable opinion of the police, in contrast to 71% of white respondents with similar inclinations. So the idea that black people are all like, oh, please, police me more prisons, more strict enforcement, is a goddamn fucking lie. Okay, we're just going to go back to them lying again.
Categorized left and right. I'm on the left of my party. Nobody can call me anything but a progressive. And been one all of my life. Met my wife in jail, being progressive. So come on.
And I appreciate that. But Congressman, just
but that's why they use him, chat. Because he has the civil rights record from 60 years ago, they use him as the tip of the spear to punch left. And notice that's not a book on LBJ behind him. That's not a book on FDR behind him. It's a book from Truman? Really, bro?
Specific issues, because I know you care strongly about this. When you say defund the police, I'm not talking about the popularity of it. I'm talking about whether it hurt your party. None of the candidates in the November House elections ran on defund the police. You mentioned New York. Not a single New York mayoral candidate ran on defund the police. So I'm not sure why. I mean, I know why Republicans keep going on and on about it. I'm not sure why you seem to think it's such a big problem for your party.
Ask Jimmy Harrison, who was running for the United States Senate here in South Carolina.
He didn't run on it. He didn't run on defund the police. He ran a centrist campaign and he had infinite money and he got destroyed. He got destroyed. What are you talking about? And he had no chance at South Carolina. It's one of the most conservative states in the union. It was a grift from day one. You're a liar, man. Come on, dude.
Just ask him. Ask Abigail Spanberger.
She won. Who cares? Abigail Spanberger was a CIA agent, but she won anyway. Who cares?
Up in Virginia, why I said it.
Not one single person who supported Medicare for all lost their election. Not one single person who lost their reelection, who is an incumbent, lost because of supporting Medicare for all. That's just not true, dude. You said sloganeering hurt. The stuff they actually ran on didn't hurt them. He's just making shit up. Pathetic.
I said it because it's real. It's a real problem. We should stop sloganeering. In 1960, Burn, Baby Burn destroyed our movement.
What? Did it? I thought the Civil Rights Acts were passed. What are you talking about? It didn't destroy shit. I'm going to say that the guy who is friends with the member of these multiple military contractors might be more likely to be CIA. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there for you. I'm going to go ahead and just help you out there. If you're looking for the CIA agents, that may be the better targets for you. I would look for those people.
Defund the police will do the same thing to progressive movements today. This kind of sloganeering does us no good.
I take your point on sloganizing. I guess the problem is I watched a lot of Republican attack ads last November. They did mention defund the police. They also mentioned Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure you wouldn't say Nancy Pelosi's to blame for you losing. They mentioned corruption. The problem is Republicans are going to attack you always as socialists and lefties. And I think the problem becomes, are you kind of agreeing with their attack on your own party by talking so much about it? I guess that's the discussion. Last word to you, Congressman.
I know what I feel. I know one single Democrat to tell me that Nancy Pelosi is a problem. I've had plenty Democrats to tell me defund the police is a problem. So, look.
The facts are, according to every survey, she's extremely unpopular. Republicans have been running against Nancy Pelosi for years. I'm sorry, but it's just the reality.
I only know what the facts are.
Okay. We'll carry on this conversation. It's a fascinating conversation. Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
What a fraud, dude. What a complete fraud. All that proves is the circles he runs in. No shit. Holy fuck, man. And by the way, I want to show you this. I mean, we have this data. We have this data right here. Nancy Pelosi's favorability rating. Negative 15.6. That's from Economist, Politico, Harvard, Hams, and Quinnipiac, these are all solidly reliable pollsters. She is extremely unpopular. And look, compare her to other leaders. Chuck Schumer is -8. She's -15.6. Joe Biden is 8+0.5. That's good. Pretty good. She's more unpopular than Donald Trump. She's more unpopular than Donald Trump. If you're going to tell me that Donald Trump is going to drag down the Republicans, Nancy Pelosi is much more unpopular than Donald Trump. That's the facts, man. Nobody knows who Kevin McCarthy is. Only 58% of the country, but almost everyone knows who Nancy fucking Pelosi is, and everyone who does doesn't like her. Mitch McConnell's really unpopular. Unfortunately, the Democrats don't run against him. Those are the facts, okay? That's the evidence. That's the facts. And people if you want to talk about defund the police, I'll tell you exactly what the defund the police movement is. Defund the police is a movement that says if you want to reduce crime, you have to look at the causes of crime. If we fund in these alternatives and we build a social safety net, we fund education, we fund healthcare, we fund public housing, we fund mental health treatment, we fund childcare, we have jobs programs. That is what lowers crime. You can put a million MRAPs in every street corner, but if people have no positive path forward, there's going to be crime. And that's going to require harsh punishment. And the social order will be collapsing bridges and roads and militarized police, which is what we're in now. We do politics here every morning starting at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. You can watch us here on Twitch. We're the morning guy, the morning politics guy, Politics Frogs in every single day, same time, 10 a.m., day in, day out. And we carry you through your morning and early afternoon politics needs. And if you need more, Mike from PA, we have a YouTube channel. We talked about suburbs, the My Pillow guy, Ted Cruz. We talked about DSA. Amazing. Making fun of Tim Pool. Amazing. Look at all of these amazing videos. Get in there, watch them. We have me on Twitter. You got to follow me on Twitter, chat. I'm at 20,614 subs. That means I got like 40 followers on Twitter in the last day. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. Go follow us on Twitter. And of course, join the Discord, where we have an incredible community of left-wing streamers. We have left-wing community. We talk about the stream. We talk about politics. There's gaming content. It's a really awesome, supportive place. Direct action, mutual aid. And you can just let off some steam. And also, you can help produce the show. One of the things I do is I look at the links that are put into the news content suggestions chat room on the Discord. Join the Discord, come hang out, and maybe what you want me to talk about will be part of the next show.